to my YouTube channel, Dr. Mary Mughal, where we affect lives, we affect businesses, and we affect the society. I hope you've subscribed. If you have not, I request you to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell, because this channel is about you. So today we want to talk about matters mental health. Research shows that 1 out of every 4 people in the world suffers from mental illness. It's that serious. In fact, mental illness is a silent killer. And sometimes people say that all of us are mad, only the degree matters. I am joined by my friend, Dr. Anthony Sewa, who is going to take us through this very important topic. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Dr. Anthony Sewa.
Thank you, Dr. for welcoming me to the channel.
Dr. Start by telling the viewers what is mental health and what is mental well-being.
Thank you very much. Mental health, basically when you talk about the concept of mental health, we are thinking of a person's well-being in terms of how one thinks, how one feels, and how we behave. So mental health is looked at well-being in terms of those three specific components: your thought, your feelings, and your behavior. Then when we think about it from the popular perspective, Daktari, it's unfortunate that when people think about mental health, much of what comes to their mind is maybe the absence of a mental disorder, or some people will also think about the disorders themselves. But as I said, you have to think of it in terms of the three specific components: the thoughts, the feelings, and behavior, well-being in terms of this. Now, the concept of mental wellness is linked to mental health, but when you think about wellness generally, it's like you're thinking of there being, your mind, body, and spirit being at peace with each other. And this is achieved when you have an orderly mind, it is functioning well, and to the best of your wishes. So mental illness looks at that harmony between your body, your mind, and your spirit. Thank you.
Wow, viewers, mental health is about your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior. Dr. Tell us, what is mental illness? I have read widely and I've seen that many researchers are saying that 1 out of every 4 people has a mental illness or disorder. What is mental illness?
Thank you, Dr. Mental illness is actually what you'd say the opposite of mental health. Most of the people, when they think about mental illness, they have the concept of mental health disorders or abnormal behavior in mind. But when you think about mental illness, you're simply thinking of those psychological disturbances that affect your thoughts, your emotions or feelings, and your behavior. So that is mental illness. The psychological disturbances or disorders which will affect your thoughts, your feelings or emotions, and your behavior. Now, the concept of mental illness, Daktari, is quite confusing both to the layman and to professionals, because what may be considered as mental illness in our context, for example, may not necessarily be mental illness in another context. So for people to agree on what is mental illness, there are four basic things that are looked into to qualify something as being mental illness. So the psychological dysfunctions that will constitute mental illness must cause four things to a person. The first thing is that it must cause distress or some levels of discomfort. The next thing is that it must cause an aspect of danger either to the person or to the people around this person. Another aspect is that it must bring about some dysfunction. In other words, it must affect the normal levels of functioning for the individual in terms of social functioning, psychological functioning, and even emotional well-being. Then the fourth aspect is that it must bring about some deviance. In other words, it must deviate from what is considered normal, the people who constitute the community among which this person lives. So those four aspects are what help in having an effective definition of something or a condition as being a mental illness or not. When each of these is looked in isolation, unfortunately, it doesn't give a sufficient condition to diagnose something or some condition as mental illness. For example, something may be distressful to people around you, but it may not be distressful to you, and therefore we may not to categorize that as mental illness. And I'll give an example of that. Among our communities, for example, we have people who are very comfortable, or some communities who are very comfortable taking raw food. Among the Maasai here, they do blood mixed with milk, and they take it fresh that way. That to the people who do not practice that may be uncomfortable. But to the people who do it, it's not uncomfortable. So distress alone may not actually constitute the definition of mental illness. So the four aspects have to be looked into together so that you have a wholesome definition of, or identification of a condition as mental illness. Thank you, Dr.
Is it possible for someone to be mentally ill and they are not aware that time?
Thanks a lot, Doc. Yes, this one is very common. Health language. This is called anosognia. Anosognosia, sorry. And this means that you are not aware, you don't have insight into your mental health condition. It is there, yes. Those around you can see it, but you yourself are not aware of it. And it happens a lot, maybe even in our interactions. Sometimes you see people and you are strongly convinced that this person actually has a mental health condition, but the person doesn't seem to be aware of it. And, what happens is that people around the person are busy to say this person should seek help, but the person doesn't feel the need for help. So it's very popular. We also have it at a certain level. Sometimes you need help, but you don't acknowledge that you need it. So it's there, and it's a popular thing. And allow me to say that clearly that some of the mental health conditions that cause about anosognosia are very serious, and actually they deserve medical attention. For example, research has shown that those mental health conditions which affect the frontal lobe of the brain make people to be unaware of their mental health conditions. And most of those conditions are very dangerous. We are talking of something like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and dementia. These are medical conditions that need medical attention, and they make people not to be aware of their own mental illness. So it is true, people can have mental illness and not be aware that they do.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Doctor, what signs or symptoms should one look for to actually have an idea that there could be a mental illness somewhere? What are those kind of signs or symptoms that show that someone could be suffering from mental illness?
Thank you, Dr. Terry. There are several signs and symptoms that can indicate the presence of a mental disorder. And allow me to say that before we go to the signs and symptoms, uh, when these symptoms present themselves, they may indicate, the disorder at its various levels.
Mhm,
A disorder can have a spectrum,
mhm,
mild, severe, all the way to acute, depending on the level that one is in, right?
mhm, mhm,
So we talk of these symptoms as presenting in any of those categories.
mhm,
So it's important that people get to know that. And one of the key symptoms of mental health disorder is withdrawal.
mhm,
You find that a person has all of a sudden withdrawn from friends, from family, from colleagues, or what we may generally call social withdrawal.
mhm,
You as a people's person, and
mhm,
then all of a sudden you become a loner and you don't want anything to do with other people. So that time, that's a dangerous signal. It's a signal that something may not be right with you in terms of your mental health.
mhm.
Another sign, Dr. is that people may all of a sudden start avoiding activities that they usually like.
Mhm.
So in their normal self, there are things they like doing, and all of a sudden they stop enjoying those things or involving themselves in those things. Again, that is a signal that something may not be right.
Mhm.
Another, source of worry or a sign that people need to pay attention to is when a person all of a sudden starts sleeping too much or sleeping too little.
Hiyo
So,
ni kali, eh?
yeah, without any, like that, sometimes you sleep too much because you are exhausted. So if you are not, you don't have a reason as to why you slept too much or you slept too little,
Mhm.
that is a dangerous signal. It's a common one, and sometimes we ignore it, but it is a sign that something may not be very right. Another one that is related to that is either eating too much or eating too little. Everyone has the ration that he or she takes and they feel sufficient. But all of a sudden, if something, somebody changes in that pattern, that is also a sign. And as I said, with the four conditions for mental illness, in terms of trying to identify them, even these symptoms should not be taken in isolation. Because sometimes we have variations in our routine, behavior, and all that, which affect the presence or the expression of the symptoms. Another one is a sense of hopelessness. So when a person starts feeling hopeless, again, that one is a danger signal and it should not be ignored. Then there is something called listlessness or having low levels of energy consistently without explanation. Then that is an indicator that something will not be very right. Then another sign that is usually common and it indicates the onset of the presence of mental illness is when people start using mood altering substances. For example, a person who has not been using alcohol or taking alcohol starts taking alcohol or uh, you know smoking cigarettes or those other drugs. We call it drug abuse, of course. That is also a danger signal. Another one is when a person, consistently displays negative emotions. You know, our emotions are in a spectrum. We oscillate between positive and negative. But if you find a person who is always alive to the negative emotions, then something is not very right about that person in terms of mental health. Another one is when a person, appears confused. So that aspect of confusion should tell you that the person is not very orderly in terms of their thoughts and feelings. Inability to complete tasks is also, a sign that something is not very right, especially work-related tasks or routine care tasks like cooking, dressing up well, upkeep and all that. Then when people have persistent thoughts or memories that keep on recurring, and people will always say that I keep on thinking about this or that, and that thought points to something that is not very common, then it's also a bad sign. It's also a sign that there could be a mental health issue in the person. Then if a person keeps on thinking about causing injury to himself and others around him or her, again, that is a sign of a mental health issue. Then some people will take it even far when they say that they start hearing voices.
From where?
Those voices, those voices now that somebody will tell you, I hear voices at night. Or when I'm alone, I hear people talking to me. That's a dangerous sign, and that is actually an indicator of a high level of mental illness that needs to be looked into. Again, some people will may become detached from reality and start experiencing what we call delusions. So when such happens, then again, that's an indicator of mental. There are so many others, but those are the major ones that, when they are there, people need to actually take precautions. Another one, before I forget, which is common, is when people start having conflicts, in their relationships without, any reason as to why these conflicts are there, then it's an indicator that something may not be very right in terms of their mental health. So that's it. The list is longer, but I think that can suffice.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. When I was younger, we used to say in the school when I was in the university that everybody is man. It's just that the degree matters. and from what you're saying, I think there is some truth in that. Now, how do you, having listened to all those symptoms, it actually confirms maybe what research says, that 1 in every 4 people have a mental illness. Now, the question then is, how do we enhance mental wellness or mental health?
Thank you, Dr. It is true that in Kenya and worldwide, actually, mental health is what I would call a silent killer. Right now, we are talking about COVID, it's a pandemic, but I think mental health is even because it's like a universal problem. As long as we are people, we experience mental health issues. But unfortunately, it's one of those, forgotten issues in mainstream mental health conditions. So, but allow me to say that for people to maintain proper mental health, there are a number of things that they can do. For example, the basics that we are told of how to maintain proper health apply across board, because health is multifaceted, and mental health is just one of the facets of mental health. And the basic to being healthy that we come up knowing is that you need to eat well. eat a balanced diet. That applies even to mental health.
Okay.
Somebody once said that your brain is what you feed it. So the moment we eat well, we have chances of improving on our mental health. Then another tip that people need to have in mind is always stay positive. That's a very tall order, I know, to say that people should stay positive. But in as much as possible, always look at the positive side of things. As they say, when you're given lemons, look at how you can make lemonade from the same and not at the other aspect that you don't have the knowledge. So I think staying positive is one of protective factors. So we are saying these tips are to protect you from, you know, getting into the mental health disorders that we talked about. Another one is connect with people as much as possible because man is a social being. Always try to connect with others, be they family, be they friends, be they colleagues at work. Connect with people at all times. And when you have any challenges as a person, it's always good to share.
Yeah.
Those that are close to you and those that you trust. Because as they say, a problem shared is a problem solved. So if the moment you connect with people, even in times of joy and in times of sadness, it helps in protecting you from contracting mental illness. Another one is seek professional help. If you experience, the range of symptoms that we just listed, it's important to seek professional help because, as we saw, people have mental illness and they don't know. Sometimes people ignore even these signs and convince themselves they are well when they are not. So it's important that people should seek professional help or help whenever possible. Another one is that people need to sleep well, get enough sleep, because brain relaxes and rejuvenates itself when you get enough sleep. So getting those, during COVID, we've been told get at least 8 hours of sleep. The connection between that is that when you sleep, your mental health improves. So the physical health may not necessarily improve before the mental health. So it's important that people get enough sleep so that the mental health also improves. Then another very important thing, and this is very crucial because the society we live in, is that people need to start living now or experiencing the present moment. Daktari, if you meet with people, sometimes you'll be very shocked. Somebody thinking of what happened 3 years ago, 2 years ago, or even yesterday, and forgetting the joy of the moment, the present moment, or thinking about future plans so much so that they lose opportunities to enjoy the present moment. So this ability to live now, or live the present moment, is what people in psychology call mindfulness. So you need to be mindful of your present moment, and that helps you to manage the anxieties that come from focusing on the past or the future too much. Another, thing that we need to have is help others.
Yeah, sure.
All the helping other people has a feel-good effect that comes to you. You feel, you are changing lives. You have a better purpose in life, and that gives you the hope that you're talking about. It gives you positivity, as we say, and it's important that we keep on helping others. And another thing that people can do that is that of developing a new set of skills. Always try to develop a new set of skills, whether it is physical skills, whether it is coping skills, because every time you develop a new set of skills, you increase your self-esteem. You increase confidence in your ability to face uncertainties in life. And that in itself boosts your mental health by making you feel good about yourself. So those are some of the simple things that people can do, and you know, they improve on their mental health. Something that we have also been told in most fora is that get to know the things that you enjoy and keep on practicing them more to boost your levels of happiness. So that is also very crucial. Thank you.
Wow. Viewers, you have heard it all from the expert. Be positive, eat well, sleep, you know. And above all, which is my take home today, live the present. You don't need to live yesterday. You don't need to live 2022. Some of you are mentally ill because you are thinking of 2022, 2030, 2035. Live today. Thank you very much, Dr. for your insights. We really appreciate you. And my viewers, it is important to take care of your mental health, and it is important that you stay healthy. This is a discussion that we shall continue to speak about, and therefore, give us a like, give us a comment, and above all things, subscribe, because we are here for you. Thank you very much. God bless you.